from your opponent's knee to avoid his best move, which is his elbow escape. And then angle your knee towards the sternum, beat his knee, and then track back to the opposite hip. So it's quite unconventional. So I'm going to show it first from an angle where you'll see my knee come to the other side. Okay. Now, you guys know what it's like. I'll demonstrate it with Placido in a good defensive posture, but all we really need here is a crossface and some kind of grip underneath my opponent's elbow. You don't need an underhook for this. This is more than enough. But I do need preferably a crossface. It's not essential that I have a crossface, but it's usually the way it's done. Now, you guys know the formula here. Your opponent wants to bring his knee up and inside your hip. That's what he's looking to do. That's his goal. Going back. So we typically need to try and shut that down. When you guys first started learning jiu-jitsu, you were taught to knee drive probably something like this. Your knee cuts across the line of your opponent's belt and drives towards the floor. Once it goes to the floor, you hook in on the other side and then either step out conventionally or turn your hip to reduce ankle exposure, and from here start walking northwards. Okay, so that works very well at beginner level, but once you have opponents who are skilled at elbow escapes, they're going to be constantly looking to bring their knee inside your hip. Okay. Now, the more their knee goes up, the more you tend to run into it. Why? Because your knee is supposed to go along the line of their belt. But if they put their knee above the line of their belt, their knee literally blocks you from hitting an elbow escape. And you see this all the time. The guy brings the knee up into the hip, and then when I try to bring my knee across, it's like, flop, I'm blocked out. Okay, so what I often have my students do when I feel my opponent's knee coming inwards is I have them turn like so, and then put their head down as a tripod. Now, when Placido brings his right knee up high, my knee is pointing the same direction as his knee. Even if he did try to bring his elbow and knee together, it becomes quite easy for me to bring my knee to his sternum. And the direction of my knee complements his knee instead of opposes it. Once my knee goes in front, I just change my angle and I push my knee to the opposite knee. And as a result, my knee touches easily on the other side. Now I take my second foot and bring it close to my first foot. And I separate my arms. And I start this action of walking forward, taking his body out of position. As he tries to defend the mount now, it's awfully, awfully difficult. You've completely shut down his elbow escape. And then from here, so many things we can do. You can slap out. That's certainly one good option. You can take your head to the floor and step over using the hip step method and shut out his elbow escape. I leave that up to you. They're both great methods. Okay. So, sorry, this is very unpleasant to be done. I'm sorry, dude. He's the bravest Uke in the planet. So here we are. We lock up. And he's doing a great job of bringing his knee in, okay? Now, let's do a little experiment here, guys. Imagine I was chest to chest with my opponent. Placido has his knee above his belt line. When I try to bring my knee across, it's blocked by his thigh muscle. But if I change direction towards his sternum, my knee always beats his knee. Once I beat the knee, then I aim at his opposite hip, and it clears his knees out of the way. So I beat his elbow escape, his best move. Then once we get here, I just put my knee on the floor and my head is on the mat. And as a result, I'm stable. My trail leg comes up, and then I make a choice between either slapping out, minimizing my ankle exposure, or completely eliminating my ankle exposure by stepping on his hip. That happens to be my personal favorite method of going. It's also Gordon's personal favorite method, and I believe that's the most efficient against really high-level opponents, okay? So we've got a tough opponent here. He's doing a good job of maintaining his defensive positioning, and we're here across his side. He's got his knee up in my hip, and I feel like, dude, if I don't address that knee in the hip, it's going to go inside. And once it goes inside, you got a problem on your hands, okay? So as soon as I feel his knee starting to go inside my hip, going inside the hip, we're constantly looking to get into this tripod position. And I'm focusing on getting my knee in front of his thigh. As soon as it's in front of the thigh, I start going towards the floor on the opposite side and brushing his legs aside. Once we're here, we lock up. As he tries to hold me out in these positions, it's very, very difficult. And you get a good choice now between either slapping out, which reduces ankle exposure but doesn't eliminate it, or bringing your foot forward and stepping on his hip, which completely eliminates it. Okay? So let's have a look at that from another angle. Here we are. We're locked up. He's got his knee up by my hip, and from here I come up into a tripod. As he tries to contest that knee position, look how I just bring my knee in front of his thigh. And as a result, I can drive across to the opposite hip. My foot, my trail foot, comes in like so. As I start walking northwards on my opponent, I get these great opportunities to step over my training partner's hip, and we're mounted. As Placido goes to work his way out, he finds himself in a terrible bottom mount position and us ready to attack. Okay? So this is an excellent way for us to really shut down your opponent's elbow escape using the tripod method and get into a very strong mounted position. Let's look now at the idea of side control and different variations that we can use. Please understand that side control, one of its principal virtues is that it enables far more variation than other pins. Okay, there's more sub-variants of side control than there are of mount or knee on valley or north-south. So let's have a look at these now. Whenever someone is bottom side control, there are some major forms of arm configuration that you can use, okay? In general, the safest forms of arm configuration involve an arm on opposite sides of the body so that both sides of the body are controlled, okay? There are some exceptions to this rule. There's times we don't do this, but as a general rule, the best side control variations are those where both sides of the body are controlled. So, probably the most well-known and most popular is one where I have a crossface on one side and an arm wedging my opponent's far side on the other. Your hands can be locked. They can be open. They can be positioned in different parts of the body, but what's common to both is that you have an elbow on each side of his body. Please understand that most of your control comes from the elbows rather than the hands, okay? Because those form the strong wedges that block your opponent's movement. So regardless of whether my opponent has a hand in front or I have a true underhook, in all these cases, my elbow is going to be the wedge. So when Placido goes to shrimp out, it's my right elbow that's making it tough for him, okay? You can use your hand periodically as a base of support. Say, for example, you went to bridge left, you use it like so, but then you would come back to your wedge, okay? Don't wedge too far underneath people, okay? This way you get good pressure, but you can be rolled over that wedge now. So make sure you've got enough space between your elbows and the ability to base out if necessary, okay? If he goes to bridge into me, I might have to base out periodically on this side. But ultimately, I want to control Placido between my elbows. My hands can be locked, open, spaced out, but it's between my elbows that I control the man, okay? The strongest form of connection are closed wedges. So a lot of people like the idea of locking in just like so, forming good tight wedges. The problem with locked hands is they kind of lock you in place. So don't be obsessed with them. They're good, they're a useful tool, but don't overuse them. Be ready to work with open hands, lock, periodically move, etc., etc. Remember, mobility of your hand position is the best thing. Now, second best method of controlling is to switch from a crossface to a reverse crossface. Now, you remember what we said about elbows on both sides of the body, fellas? If I've got two arms on this side, there's no elbows on this side. So we come through and we're going to put our elbow close to our training partner's hip on the other side. Let's change angles, plus and you see that other arm. So here's my start position. I have an elbow on each side of the body. If I take my left elbow from one side to the other, the onus is on me to put my other elbow here. So now my elbow blocks his hip on the near side, and my elbow blocks his head on the far side. When he goes to move around in this position, it's a good controlling pin. Okay, and again, it stays true to the principle that I want an elbow on each side of his body. Now, however, there will be times when you can briefly use 2 elbows on one side of the body. The more preferable of those options is where we have 2 elbows on the far side. Okay, so I have a reverse crossface and I have a hip lock, just like so, and I lock my opponent in. Why is this the preferred option? Because my knee position can substitute for my elbow position. Okay, my right knee is very tight to Placido's hips, so when he tries to bring his right knee inside, my knee position is inside his hip and shuts him out. If my knee was out here somewhere, he would get inside position and defeat me. But if I substitute my right elbow for my right hip, I can safely put 2 hands on this side, just because my knee position is sound. So when he goes to put me back in guard, it's quite difficult. So if you are going to have 2 elbows on one side of the body, I generally recommend far side of the body and substitute your knee for your missing elbow. There is another option, and this is 2 elbows on the near side. Okay, now I'm not going to say this position is wrong. You can use it, but it does have an obvious problem. If I have 2 elbows on the near side of the body, there's nothing to stop Placido shrimping away from me. Okay, because I don't have any wedges on the far side. So my advice to you is, if you're going to use 2 elbows on the near side, just use it as a transitory position. Don't try to hold people down for extended periods of time. If we had a gi on, I could use this, because I could feed the gi through and the gi would hold the far side of Placido's body. I could lift your hips. I could take the skirt of the gi on this side, and with 2 hands on the near side, I can hold them in place, because the gi helps me and locks the far side and wedges the far side. But with no gi, if I have no elbows on the far side and he just shrimps away, there's nothing holding him in place. Okay, so you can use this as a transitory position. I'm not going to say it's wrong to do this, but I am going to say be aware of its obvious limitations. There's just nothing holding him on the far side, so he's going to move that way and there's no resistance. So typically what we do is we use grips like this as a transitory position before we can get to what we really want, which is an elbow on each side of his body. Okay, that would be my advice to you. So we've got 4 basic configurations. Okay, an elbow on each side of his body with a crossface, an elbow on each side of his body with a reverse crossface. Those are the 2 best ones because they have an elbow on each side of the body. We have 2 elbows on one side of the body. The better of those 2 is 2 elbows on the far side, because my legs can replace my elbows on the near side. And the weakest is 2 elbows on the near side, which is okay for transitory holds, but not for long-term holds, because there's nothing wedging the far side of the body. Okay. Now there is a 5th arm position that you can often make use of. It has the great advantage of back exposure. This is an underhook. My right arm underhooking my opponent's left arm.